where it's kind of like just when you think you've solved all the movement shenanigans I can do, here comes John Hellbrute, and he is going to put his Power Scourge into some dark places in your deployment zone. And
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Red Path. My name is Brian, and this here's Dara. And today, we're going to be having a competitive Skull Insights,
takers.
where we're going to be talking about something kind of unique. Ever since the data slate, obviously, there's been a lot of excitement around world leaders, right? For good reason. LGT just had its section of lists posted, and out of about 1,000 armies, we were like 72 of them.
The most represented faction, which did very much take me by
Which is
surprise.
like never been the case ever.
No.
Like not even remotely this represented. Like typically we're 2-3% of the room, not pushing 7-8% of the room.
All we need
So,
now is for the homies to absolutely like crater the win rate at LGT, and we're good. We're good for another slate.
and you know what? Because of that, I know there's a lot of excitement getting pulled to the Codex, and I feel like there's some parts of the Codex that haven't really been talked about nearly as much that are potentially not bad, right? Exalted 8 Pound getting better solved a lot of problems and a lot of detachments. So, Dara just got back from Dearg Doom IV.
Correct.
Um, he did pretty good. 4-1, right, Dara?
4-1, came sixth, and got best chaos actually.
Best Chaos, and Dara did it with Goretrack,
Goretrack onslaught,
which is
baby.
a detachment that's kind of been like the stepchild detachment, I feel like, from the Codex. I mean, there's been quite a bit of talk about Berserker Warband, of course. Like 80% of the dialogue about World Leaders is Warband. And the other 15% is Khorne Demon because there's a lot of demon stands out there, and who knows, like Scarbrand's just sick, and it also has the coolest enhancement in the book. Um, and just a little bit about vessels because we're vessel stands and of course oil, but Goretrack really hasn't gotten time in the sun. So part of an output thing that we're trying to put together right now is that we're gonna have a good give each detachment its time in the sun, readdress it, see if it's actually as bad as people think it is. But obviously, if we have Dara who claims to be washed going 4-1, it can't be that bad, right? So Dara, how you doing?
Yeah, man, I'm pretty good. I had a really, really, really fun time playing Goretrack. It surprised me as much as it surprised my opponents. I will say that. I didn't think that I was gonna really like love the detachment, and I guess before we jump into it, there's like a couple of meta reasons as to like why I'm doing Goretrack that like we can kind of maybe talk about. But like, so the main reason, and this is probably something I'm going to get kind of keep in mind for people watching the channel going forward, is like we obviously have a fantastic player in Brian here, literally number one world leader player in the world, one of the best Warhammer players in the world, period. And like, there's not really much point in me going to events and repping Warband if Brian is going to be doing it to a higher degree and bringing you guys like better content. So like Skull Takers or like event recaps with me bringing Warband is kind of like pointless. So if I bring the more bespoke detachments like Slaughterband and Goretrack, we can give you some interesting insights from like the different parts of the codex. Because like at the end of the day, I'm still pretty decent at the game, even though I claim to be washed and all that. And that was like part of the reason. And then the other reason is that so like conceptually, I like Goretrack. I think it's cool. But I wasn't like super like, oh, that's I really want to run it. But I've got No Retreat coming up, which allows legends to be included in that, and that means that I can run my favorite World Leaders unit, which is the Termite Assault Drill. And to run the Termite Assault Drill, Goretrack is very good. So I said, okay, if I use Dearg Doom as like practice to learn how Goretrack works, so it can enable me to use the drills better. That was like my thinking going into it.
Sure, yeah. I mean, obviously getting a handle because like the I'll say Goretrack right now, the strats are like fairly complex to use. There's a lot of cool interactions and cool jank. Like it is the janky detachment. If you're a fan of making sure your opponent is always caught off guard and just getting surprised around every corner, that's the detachment for you, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, we're gonna do a small detachment breakdown-ish, like talk through your journey through Dearg Doom 4. Some brief game highlights. We'll talk about the detachment, some strats, some cool combos. and then turn it over to our Patreon. Had some questions that we were going to be running through. So, without further ado, Dar, what did you bring? What did you cook up?
Yeah, so I brought my, I called it the Drive to Unalive list. And this list was actually over 2K before the slate. So it's one of those ones that benefited greatly from the point decreases. And I think that is actually like the crux of what made the list like as competitive as it now is versus where it was before, because I feel like I have just the right amount of every tool that I want, whereas before I was lacking like one thing, right? So HQs are very simple. We've got two Masters of Executions. One of them has the Scout enhancement for the Rhino, and the other has the once per game reactive fight first. We have a Slaughter Band with the no Overwatch when he jumps out of a transport stratagem or enhancement. And then we have Khorne. So no Demon Prince in this HQ selection, which was a choice. I think the Demon Prince is a lot less relevant in Goretrack because a lot of the time he actually doesn't have the infantry near him to be getting his lone up because they're usually inside bosses. And he also can't really keep up with the army as well. Like, this army has a very different type of tempo and cadence to all the other World Leader competitive lists that we usually write. And I really found that in the event was that it plays a very different type of passive aggressive game where I think, I was just watching you and Jack Harper's video today talking about the World Leaders in the current meta, and like, you're very right in saying like a lot of the time the meta World Leaders list will build up a primary lead of like 50 points and then say like, what are you going to do now? Whereas what I found with Goretrack is it actually plays like the full game, and it like scores really low primary and then kind of scales up, which is a little bit different. So the Prince doesn't really work there, so he wasn't in the list. And then we have two 10-man Berserker squads because, they're just really great in Goretrack. We have one Jackal squad, two Spawn squads, two 3-man 8-bands, one 3-man Exalted 8-band, two Hellbrutes, a Land Raider, and two Rhinos. And that is the list. Nice 2K on the nose. So
Yeah,
five
that's
hulls. Five hulls.
five holes and some very interesting choices here. Notably that we don't have Demon Prince, which I'm a huge Demon Prince stan, but that makes perfect sense. I can see if you're not consistently giving him lone op, he could actually turn into a liability really quickly of having to hide, having to keep something next to him, just keep a bunch of resources tied up. And I think every strat in Vortrek is one CP too. So
Correct.
it's the least CP intensive of the detachments, but this does not mean the strats are good. It is very, like, you're still going to be spending your
Yeah, it's
CP.
there's
But like
six incredible stratagems.
all six of them are pretty good.
Yeah,
But the having to drop 2 CP for an interrupt and -1 damage that Warband is going to have to regularly be doing. Possess Slaughter Band, fight on death, -1 to wound, right? You definitely need the Prince in a situation like that where you're just going to be burning through CP.
yeah,
Now, two Hellbrutes, Dara.
yeah.
Hellbrutes.
I know. It was like, man, I was like writing this list last minute, and just throwing what I could in that was on the shelf. There was like literally no thought in this list, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. I wasn't like agonizing over, the app for ages, just being like, what's the perfect way to write this list? I literally looked at my shelf and said, what works in Goretrack, and just put it in a list so that I could learn the detachment before no retreat. And I think I accidentally like fired it out like like the competitive Goretrack build. I'm not gonna lie. It's like when I put it all on the table. First game, I was like, maybe it was a fluke. Second game, I was like, okay. And then by the end of the tournament, I was like, man, this shit cooks. Like,
I mean, I obviously people know that I have very strong opinions about the Hellbrute. I don't tend to like it in some of the other detachments. I'm a
Yeah,
hypocrite though because I'm considering playing it in Berserker Warband. But a lot of the reasons why I don't like playing it, Goretrack can get around that.
100%. Yeah.
One of those reasons, which you'd think would be a super problem because it's in Goretrack, is the Hellbrute usually takes up valuable real estate that you have rhinos wanting to hide in, right? You only have a limited amount of area you can hide from your opponent's shooting, and that means you have to stage your Hellbrute further back. Well, if he can go through a wall, you can make more space for him. So that makes perfect sense. Uh,
There's two things in Goretrack. So I'm like you. I've played the Hellbrute in Slaughterband, I've played it in Vessels, and I've played it in Warband. And I didn't like it in any of those attachments. And in Goretrack, it feels completely different because you can go through walls and you can reactive move when you've been shot. That's one thing. The other thing is the Hellbrute is so like the thing that I found with Goretrack is its whole thing is giving your opponent a list of problems that they find very hard to actually deal with, and the Hellbrute is like the problem on top of the cake, where it's kind of like just when you think you've solved all the movement shenanigans I can do, here comes John Hellbrute, and he is going to put his Power Scourge into some dark places in your deployment zone. And like that's the thing. It's like I don't know. He just complements the list so well in terms of like he's got enhanced mobility. Um, I know some people were saying today, even in the Patreon chat, like, "Oh, what do you mean you got the reactive move on the Hellbrute?" Sometimes he just lives, you know. Like
Yep,
sometimes he does
that's
get shot and lives, and then you get your reactive move. So you're like, "Cool, next turn he's going to be somewhere really good." And like a lot of the time, unless my opponents were like reliably one-shotting the Hellbrute, he was reactive moving away from the next thing that was going to shoot him. So it's just kind of like, all right, see ya, you know. Really, really, he was honestly him and the Land Raider were like the two all-star units for me this weekend.
I can also see that because the brute also gives you a little bit of sustain. Because that's one of the biggest complaints for Goretrack is it can run out of gas. Funny enough, it's the vehicle detachment running out of gas. Right, you get out of your car, you go, you get stuck in combat, and now you're a strength 4 berserker, and the halberd allows you to like. He's a bit more. He can sustain himself a little bit more in combat than the berserkers. I don't know. That's just my personal.
I will say from having played it now, that was my opinion before the tournament. Just did not at all transpire to be reality on the table. Like almost never got stuck in combat. Like Goretrack, when it comes out of its buses, is as lethal as Warband on the charge. Not obviously not literally quite as lethal, but like the
It's still.
things that
It's
you're
not
not killing are not that much that like Warband also wasn't killing. You know?
sure. And then the other thing I wanted to touch on before we really get into the games is I know we talked about it quite a bit in the data slate. Was the Line Raider, right?
Yeah.
Did it feel as good as we thought it was going to feel?
Yeah, it was amazing. Again, another 2-up armor hull with the ability to pop smoke and the ability to just plant its ass on an objective and be OC5 and also take up like most of the objective space while still having some homies inside. It was really good. Its shooting was good in some games. It was bad in others, but like that's I never rely on it for its shooting. I rely on it as like a highly resilient hull, which when people are trying to take down two Hellbrutes that are running amok in their backlines, they don't necessarily have the capacity to deal with the Raider. In quite a lot of my games, it just didn't die because like, my opponents were freaked out by the Hellbrutes, which is entirely understandable. And in a lot of other games, it would die after like taking up so much firepower that it really took the pressure off me. And it's just one of those transports where it's like it feels really good to jump back into the Raider after you finish a combat, whereas sometimes you jump back into the Rhino and you're like, oh god, like it's maybe bought me like one unit's activation of shooting. Whereas the Raider, you're like, well, I'll probably be getting Lance in the next turn again. It was really, really powerful. Really love the Land Raider. I probably wouldn't swap it out at all, to be honest. I was kind of looking at my list
Sure.
today, like there's a way I can turn the two Hellbrutes into two Forge Fiends, and I just said no. Like the firepower would be really good with two 4Gs and a Land Raider, but I'm just like
It's you lose a lot of forward pressure now, which I'm finding in
you lose the
Warband is
disruption.
if you have the two forge fiends in the back, that means your front of the table play gets a little bit worse, right? That's just common sense. You have
Also,
350
there's a
points
point
back
where
against
you're
the
like
Raider.
trying to move like two Rhinos, a Land Raider, and two Forge Fiends, and you're just having a car park issue. You know,
And sometimes you just get put on that wrong like GW2 and you're like Hammer Anvil or like Crucible and you just like can't hide anywhere. I've been there, done
GW1
that.
search and destroy, man. You're like
Oh, it's
they're
just
all
like
they're all locked in in the deployment. So one at a time, we're going at you that hole.
okay. Real quick, since we've been talking a little bit about Dearg Doom, let's just you're gonna take us through it briefly, Dara.
Yeah, sure, sure. So yeah,
And
5 round events, I guess.
yeah, and we don't have time to go super in depth in all the games, guys. If you
No.
really want to catch Dara and you want to like really break down all of that in depthness about Goretrack and his games, feel free to hit us up in the Patreon. That is where we do a lot of those backstage breakdowns. I'm sure Dara will actually do maybe a workshop or something on that
Yeah, if
eventually.
people are interested, let me know in the Patreon chat, and I can do one of the live workshops that we've been doing recently. But yeah, game one, I was playing Pierce, who is a longtime friend of mine, one of the Team Ireland boys, incredible player. Probably like one of my favorite people to play in Ireland, just because he's genuinely one of the nicest guys ever. And some of the stuff that happened in this game will really kind of show that. He was playing the new Raven Guard detachment, crucially without Centurions, which he didn't have at the time, and goddamn was I glad about that. But it was all the other good stuff. It was like 18 Inceptors, Shan, Shrike with 10 Van Vets, a Rhino full of Grav Devastators, and some other scoring bits and pieces, like Scouts, Phobos dudes, X, Y, and Z. So the 18 Inceptors is obviously quite scary. It was double plasma, one with the bolters. And obviously, I really did not want to go first in this one, because if I went first, he'd be able to pick up quite a bit of stuff from his board and drop it into my ass in turn one, which would have sucked. And I went second, so that was really good. This one was pretty... should have probably been a really, really close game. Normally, when I play Pierce, either he wipes the floor with me, or we have an incredibly close and really interesting game. And this was not one of those games. So I kind of drove into my staging places. The house on layout 1 was great place for a Rhino to exist at all times, and especially in Goretrack, when if you drive the Rhino properly into the ruin, you can kind of hop out of the Rhino, beat stuff up on the objective, and then just re-embark into the Rhino as well, and then you're safe in a building. So that was kind of early game, not too much happening, just some basic kind of trading around the table and stuff, and managed to... So this is one of the stratagems that I used in every single game, at least once, often more than once. And I think it's the hidden strength of Goretrack, which is the 6-inch disembark from a Rhino, which also allows you to disembark into combat. And it very quickly became apparent to me that a 6-inch disembark and a move with also +1 to charge because of the detachment rule is functionally the same as Berserkers advancing and charging out of a Rhino in Berserker Warband, because you're basically getting an extra 4 inches because you've got extra 3-inch disembark and +1 on the
which
charge.
is
Which is your average advance.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of immediately in our game, I was like, oh, I've got this Rhino in my home field, and I can be in your side of the board by the end of this turn on a fairly basic charge.
And I guess that actually is a good point, because then you can pair that with the because you can disembark and charge from a Rhino.
Yep.
That basically means you have access to double
Yep.
advance and charge.
You sure do. Yep.
That's
Actually,
kind of sick.
once did that from the same Rhino because I had this single Mo. So this was one of the things as well, which I thought I mentioned in the Patreon chat today, and I thought everyone kind of knew about it. The Mo who has the Scout is just by himself. He's not attached to anyone, and he just jumps into the Rhino with 10 Berserkers and one of the other characters, and he enables that Rhino to scout. So in one of the games, I disembarked 6th one squad, then drove the Rhino up and farted the Mo out at the other end, and I was like, oh, that felt weird.
Some Eldar stuff right there.
It was, yeah, it was. So in this game anyway, that is 6-inch disembark.
I really appreciate hold on real quick. I really appreciate the most self-discipline to stay in the car, and the nails weren't biting enough for him to get out with the dog pile.
Right,
or did
yeah.
he just get left behind? They shut the door and he was just stuck in there.
I think Karen probably shut the door in his ass. So yeah, in this one, basically that maneuver of the 6-inch jump out and just run forward enabled me to get into Shan and some of the JPIs, which that was the other Mo squad, the one with the once per game reactive fight first. And Pierce had rapid ingress the 10 Van Vets with Shrike, right behind them. And, after some back and forth of being is it worth it to send them in? Because it would be quite disruptive if I suddenly had to, Delta split into, Shan, JPI, and 10 Van Vets with Shrike. There's no way I'm killing all of them. And he's probably murdering the Zerks. In the end, he didn't heroic with them. And I picked up Shan, and I picked up the JPIs. And killing Shan meant that he could no longer, for free, just pick units up with that stratagem, which was really, really impactful. And then I just had the homies on the objective. What I really wanted to pull off here was also hit a charge with the Rhino into Shan, because then I'd be able to re-embark the guys. But I failed the charge with the Rhino, so it was fine, So that was kind of going on. The Zerks got picked up by Inceptors jumping in, which was totally fair enough. And then on the middle of the board, we were kind of in a bit of a tug of war over the middle objective, the usual kind of basic trading in and out. I had the 8-bound inside the Land Raider. It was kind of gradually feeding them in. The Exalted started in Deep Strike for pretty much every single game. And I had Karn in the bus, and I was just waiting for the opportune moment of see a break in his deployment zone, send the homies in. So I think it was in like Pierce's turn two. Everything was kind of going well. He was like set up quite well for a good, powerful turn. And I had a rapid ingress area behind one of the middle pieces for my Hellbrute to come in. And being the genius that I am, completely like forgot to rapid ingress. And by the time I remembered I needed to rapid ingress, it was like my movement phase of the next turn. So I was like, well, I'll
Dang.
just bring him in now. And I was kind of looking at it. I was like, yeah, look, I need to bang a 9-inch charge, but what I really need is like a bit of a longer charge so that I can like get my 6-inch pile in and then hit the JPIs behind and then like pop,
Don't
pop,
tell
pop, pop.
me. No, you
I
don't.
looked Pierce in the eye. I was like, man, I'm just gonna roll a 12, and I just fucking box carded it.
You heard
Oh,
it
it
here first,
was
guys. If you want to be better at 40K,
just roll good.
put your
You know?
halberts in reserves, walk them on the table, and bang the 12.
I will
Then you will
say,
win games.
if I wasn't being stupid, I would have just because I had to use a CP to re-roll the charge, and like all that could have been
Okay.
avoided if I just rapid ingressed him. You know,
Well, at least nature corrected itself and ticked you down a CP.
it did, it
So it
did.
was like,
And I think this really shows like how good of an opponent Pierce was because after I killed him, I was like, look, I've got the 6-inch consolidate up. I'm not sure if I can hit those JPIs. I really don't think I can. It's quite a ways away. And we were looking at it, and he was like, "No, man, I'm like, if you do it like in this really specific way, you're gonna hit them." And he knew full well what was gonna happen if I got into the next squad. And he was just like, really doing his best to kind of help me out because, like, you know, like I haven't been playing that much 40k recently, just
um,
real life stuff, and he was really like in my corner for the whole game, which was nice.
nice.
So Hellbrute gets into the second squad, picks them up, and his next turn flips around. There's a Hellbrute like outside the ruin of his deployment zone, and he shoots a ton of stuff into it, and he leaves it on 3 wounds by the end of the turn. So it's still alive, and it's looking straight at a squad of Inceptors, and behind them is the Phobos guys and his home objective, a bunch of other stuff. Meanwhile, the like top flank, I'm kind of like losing that one gradually because like you know the Van Vets are coming. Oh no, the Van Vets weren't there. There was like some Inceptors flying around, so I just like drove a Rhino into the Inceptors, and I was like, stay there for 2 turns. And then Shrike came down in my backfields and like murdered Barney and the boys, but I had like a Hellbrute just like waiting around in there. So he was like, I'll sort this problem out for you, boss. So yeah, my next turn rolls around and Hellbrute moves forward, gets overwatched by the Bolter Inceptors on 3 wounds. He lives on 1, which I looked Pierce in the eye and I was like, when you do this overwatch, you're not going to kill the Hellbrute. We were like, the math says that you will, but I know you won't. And he didn't. So over the course of a double activation, he goes through the Inceptors, he bounces into the Phobos guys, takes them out. And then eventually in Pierce's next turn, he like falls over dead from like some random plasma Inceptor shooting him. But like by that point, he had taken out so many units, and I was just like, "Your job is done, my friend."
You can rest.
Yeah, you can totally rest now. At that point, my Exalted were like in the guts of another Plasma Inceptor squad, and my Hellbrute had come back, and together with the 8 bounds, had just munched all the Van Vets and Shrike over like a couple of Hellbrute activations, and the 8 bound just doing their work. So then I was like, okay, there's not much left here. Karn still hasn't gotten out of his Rhino. There's like 2 Grav Devastators like punching my Land Raiders' doors in the middle objective, so I'll just
Violent execution.
I like got them out, murdered the Grav guys, and then I was like, I'll just spend a CP and jump into the Land Raider. It's like the Grav boys just like holding the door open and Karen being like,
It's like
thank you, bop.
it's like the Mario double jump where you dump Yoshi in the hole to
Yeah.
get the extra jump straight into the. Okay,
Ultimately,
cool.
like that game, it was very, very silly. Only reason I won it was because the Hellbrute just did its like daisy chain through the
I mean,
deployment zone. It was quite stupid.
that's still good stuff. Like good thing to touch on here. Like stuff
Yeah.
that Goretrack can do that Warband cannot do. As you said, like everybody's like, oh well, Warband. By Warband, they have advance and charge. As Dara mentioned, you functionally have advance and charge, but it's going to just be the average result of an advance. Under
The
advance and
+1
charge.
to charge out of the transports was one of those things that like shocked me at how useful it was. Like so many charges I literally would have failed if not for that +1.
Sevens to
Just
sixes is a huge break point if you have a
huge.
7-inch
Yeah.
charge. I'm not doing a 7-inch charge often. 6-inch charge I'll go for, and
Yeah.
making that break point's really important. So, pop
The
back in
speed
strat
is
for
very good. Yeah.
also the ability to park a Rhino on the other side of a wall, get out, kill stuff, pay a CP, get back in that Rhino is pretty toxic.
Yeah, you
That
just
just disrupts the
gotta be real careful with how much you charge, where you charge from, and where you finish your charge moves. Because if you're like outside of six of that rhino, you're just not getting back
and
in.
that's bad because you can plan a charge to go kill like five Eldar Rangers. They react to move, and suddenly now you're not getting back in your transport, and you're just toast. So
Yeah,
a little
yeah,
bit of caution there. All right, that was a good solid win.
yeah. It
Um,
was it was good. It was a really silly game, but lovely to play Pierce. Like one of my favorite people.
yeah,
So round two, I paired Elliot, another one of my very good friends. He's on Space
we love
Wolves.
Elliot.
We love Elliot so much. He is the man who traumatized me about head takers. And like, he was talking a lot of muck before this game because he kind of played a version of this list when I was in Vessels, and like obviously it was bad because Hellbrutes are just bad in Vessels. So he was running Wolves with the Beast Slayer, the one that gives you lethal hits against vehicle characters and monsters. He had his classic double repulsor executioner full of head takers each. He had a Lancer, he had a Logan, and he had a bunch of other Wolfy Wolf stuff. And this one went pretty well for me. We were on Search and Destroy deployment, which I very quickly found out is hard to move Goretrack around in.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, search and destroy, and you're like, oh no, parking
Uh-oh,
lot.
I'm stuck. So again, Hellbrute starts in Rapid, or in Strategic Reserve, and the Exalted Ape Man do as well. Elliot goes first here and gets hyper aggressive with his repulsors, like really pushing them up. Because I had scouted my Rhino into the house, but he was able to cut an angle with one of the repulsors to shoot it, which he did, and he blew it up. I think he blew it up anyway. It's not important. The main thing is he exposed the repulsor really far up. So and the other repulsor was like pretty close to it as well. So I set up this turn where I was kind of like, okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to come out and we're going to beat up some random 5-man Marine squad, which I just can't remember for the life of me what they were. They might have been head takers. They could have been genuinely anything from the Space Wolves Codex. Oh, they were Thunderwolf Cav. They were up there as well. So I was like, I'm going to take out the Thunderwolf Cav, and I'm going to bad touch one of the repulsors so it can't like leave. And the other one, I'm going to try and wrap with like 3 units and kill it, and then just kill the head takers inside. Like I was putting like a full 10 mana berserkers with Khorne, 8-bound spawn, the works into this thing, and a Rhino to just because it was against the board edge. So I was like, maximize my surface area. Maybe one head taker can get out, but like most of them will die. So then my Land Raider comes out from its deployment zone, and it's like, what if I change all your plans and put that repulsor on 4 wounds after I finish shooting it? And I was like, well, if you do that, that does change my plans. So then I basically end up killing the repulsor with a handy little grenade from the Berserker Boys and a couple of other plasma shots and things like that. So the head takers fall out. They're now battle shocked as well, which I'm like, all right, in we go. So take out all the head takers, take out the Thunderwolf calves, don't get the repulsor. And then I'm like, oh, that's like 6 of those nightmare models gone. Great, that's wonderful. And then the game kind of progressively, I suppose, deteriorates for Elliot, where the other repulsor eventually dies to Exalted Ape coming in and just like beating the crap out of it. And yeah, the Land Raider just showed up again and just put a ton of damage on it. Like the repulsor and the Lancer shot into the Land Raider and was just like, go away, I'm going to pop smoke and just be fine. And then it turned around and Elliot was like, well, I'm going to pop smoke. And I was like, yeah, well, I'm going to roll 5 6s. Just like did the same thing again. So that went down.
So it's that new Red Pat dice. Just saying.
It's the new Red Pat dice. Check them out on Bard of Dice. Very powerful. So yeah, they went down in much the same way as the first one. And like Mo, who had like died, or not died, but he had fallen out of his blown up Rhino. The other Rhino that had like deposited Khorne drove up and was like, get in, boss. So he like got in, and then over the next turn he like rocketed out and went into the deployment zone with John Hellbrute, who had come in from reserve once again, and saw Bjorn and was like, that looks like a good boxing fight. So just everything kind of went. Sorry, go on.
Literally, that's literally the Simpsons meme of the Simpsons meme of the 2 monkeys with knives fighting each other. The 2 firstborn dreadnoughts fight each other.
It was literally that. So yeah, it just went into the Lancer and Bjorn. And Mo was basically like, what if I just like kick the crap out of Bjorn before John Hellbrute gets in there? So John Hellbrute had to like kill the Lancer and then went into Bjorn, and Mo just like eviscerated Bjorn. I was like, all right, cool, I guess. I wasn't expecting that, but fair enough. Lance is a hell of a drug. Like,
Yeah.
in some situations, Lance on the Charge is better than the Warband buffs. Like, it's
Yeah,
just quite good.
yeah, but yeah.
It's fringe, but it does come up, and Dreadnoughts are one of those cases where it does. So, yeah, that was going pretty well. I was like in his guts really quickly. Things just started falling over in his deployment zone. This was really just a big pressure one because the thing that I really found for Goretrack was kind of the same in a lot of my games was like, if you stage well in your opening turns, your opponent has a nightmare time pushing you because you will just say, hey, if you come here, I can like reactive disembark. If you shoot me from too close, I will jump out and blood surge into you. If you shoot me with not enough stuff, I'll reactive move, and then I'll be in a really good position for the next turn. And then you just keep listing off the things you can do in your opponent's movement phase, and they just get decision paralysis. And it's not even that, like, I know before we were like, oh yeah, I feel like everyone loses to Goretrack once and then doesn't lose again. I don't believe that anymore. Because you can just set up well and be like, cool, I'm now completely safe because no matter what you do, it's going to be a bad idea. And if you stay back and do nothing, that's also a bad idea because I'm just going to hit you the next turn. So it's like, pick the worst of the bad ideas and hope that's going to be enough. So that was that game. Very comfortable win. And really, really fun game, as it always is against Elliot. So then round 3 was where my one loss comes in. Very sad. So I was playing Connor, another one of my very good friends. I actually only played people I was friends with at this one, which was great. Connor was on Eldar. It was a very classic Aspect Warriors list. It's got all the good stuff that you know and love.
Yeah, Eldar is a decent matchup for us, Dara. Isn't that what you were saying in the
Oh
last
man,
video?
that matchup is dark, dark red. It's
Would
definitely dark.
Oilbound fix it?
Oilbound might fix it, but I'll tell you, Goretrack, when you've got that many vehicle hulls and there's 15 fire dragons and Fuegan looking at you, it's just not a good vibe.
You can almost cut the clip there.
Yeah,
For that recap.
that's it. Yeah, it was Purge, it was Hammer.
Oh,
Yeah, not great.
hammer.
Yeah, not great. Not great.
You know, that feels just like when you put me on Chaos Knights into Hammer on one too. That was just like that.
It really felt like that.
I
Yeah.
was just like, nice. Bad matchup, bad table. My
I,
favorite.
the amount of shit I gave you at the last Dearg Doom completely karma'd me in this round, like 100%. So I went first, which sucked because
Man, you're just.
I was just like,
I'm
cool.
just telling you, when the stars align, when it rains, it pours, right?
Yeah, I can't stage because if I stage, Fuegan's gonna be like there.
Yeah.
So, guess I mostly stay in my deployment zone. I did scout up the Rhino. We were agonizing over this for a while. I was like, look, if I move my spawn into the ruin of the house and occupy enough surface area that Fuegan can't be inside the house without being in engagement range, this Rhino might be safe. And that's what we worked out. And then in my infinite stupidity, I was like, you know what I can do? I can run these other two spawn into 5 striking scorpions and kill them, which is just like completely not true. Like, so.
That's just not a thing.
Yeah, I was like, I was driving today listening to you and Jack talk about the Eldar World Leaders matchup, and you were talking specifically about how 2 spawn can't kill 5 aspect warriors, and I almost crashed the car because I was just like, God, it's bringing back rage. Because guess what? They didn't kill them.
Because yours wound on 3s too, and
Yep.
they hit on 5s too.
Yep, and they have one less attack.
It,
It sucked. So basically, I squandered my 2 spawn. One of them I had to do because I had to block out Fuegan, and the other one
as soon as you lose that trash war into Eldar, that means you have
It
to
was
start playing
bad.
with real stuff, and everything they have is trash. It's
Yeah.
still not trash. It's just,
Yeah. So Fuegan jumped out of his serpent and like literally went to like the 3rd floor of a building and like looked down with his fire pike and saw my spawn in the building, and they were just like, "Oh no!"
AP5 plunging fire pike. That's pretty cursed.
It was so fucking cursed. Never have I seen 10 fire dragons and Fuegan shoot into 2 spawn, but I saw it in that moment, and holy mother of God, they took an insane amount of damage.
Why did you make him roll it to see what it would do? Like,
Yeah, I did make him roll it. I was a man, you never know with Feel No Pains. Like, I'm going to run down your clock. So yeah, obviously they jump back into the serpent afterwards, and Connor just like plays this incredibly good clinic of like, if I move in exactly these places, you can't do the things that you are setting up to do, and I can still threaten you with everything I have. And I was just like, you are locking me out of this game, and it is turn 1. And like, literally, we were like looking at every single angle. You know, he was very clear with me in terms of like, if I move the Land Raider here, he would tell me exactly where Fuegan could be, and it generally was everywhere, which is how Fuegan operates. So I was just like,
but Dara, he's T3, so it's fine.
Oh, it's fine. He's T3. He's easy to kill.
It's
Man,
it,
I was spite hunting Fuegan by the end of this game, but we'll get
it
there.
eventually just turns into kill. That's what happened with me and Folger. At Nova, I was like, by everything in my power, Fuegan is not living to the end of this game. He lived to the end of the game.
Yep.
And like roll the Always Sunny clip right there.
Yeah. This
The
dark mirror in my experience. So I kind of very quickly realized I need to like pull something out of my ass if I'm going to make things happen. And I set up what I thought was a very clever play. In hindsight, it was not a very clever play. So
Spoiler alert.
what I did was I had the rhino that I had staged and sacrificed my spawn to stage. So I was like, well, those meatballs gave up their lives for this moment. So what I'm going to do now, because I had Delta Split, in that rhino I had 10 berserkers, I had Khorne unattached, and I had Mo who gave the scout. I was like, I'm going to send all three of these boys out right now and make something happen. So there was like... there was some bikes and there was like maybe a it was a ranger unit. And then behind the wall, immediately behind them, was Fuegan's Wave Serpent and 5 Banshees. And I was like, all right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put on 6-inch Piling Con. We're going to put on crit hits. And I'm going to send these 3 units in. So that's when I did the one guy jumps out 6, and then the rhino drives forward and the other guy falls out. And Khorne just had to like hoof it up the board and hope he rolled long enough for his charge. Which all 3 of them got in, which was cool. And my rhino got in too. All into the Rangers. I was like, right, here's what I need to do here. I need to bang the Rangers with the Rhino, and then I can like Delta split these units into like the bikes for one of the random dudes, and then I can pile into the Banshees so they don't get their fight first, and then I can send Khorne into the Wave Serpent and maybe beat it up and Fuegan falls out, and then I'm in a position where I'm like, I'm basically on your home field objective. Booga booga. So pulled off all my charges, and then Connor was like, I'm going to heroic with the Banshees, and I was like, yep. What the fuck? I was literally standing at the table being like, I am so brain dead. Like,
I was probably just watching all of that too, just like
yeah, I was like, in my head, I was like
ACP?
4D chessing versus myself, and then just like
And
heroic in.
that's how it feels in that matchup.
Yeah, and I was just like, man, like, why did I just not think of this? So the Banshees go in, obviously get fight first, and they kill 6 Zerks. It wasn't crit hits. I had fight on death and Piling Con. Because of the 6 Zerks that died, 3 of them fought and killed 1 Banshee, which I was like, baller, let's go. So the Rhino like ran over some of the Rangers, which was fine. And then I was like, all right, cool. This is not going great. I now only have like 4 Berserkers left. So I was like, they'll finish the job that I intended them to do and kill the Banshees. And they killed like another like 2 Banshees. So there was like, I think like 2 Banshees left at this point or something stupid like that. I was like, all right, this is not great. I'm getting caught here. So I guess I will go with Mo, who was no longer in combat. So he just went in and I think he beat up the bikes or something. No, actually, he wasn't even there. This is the whole thing. Yeah, Khorne jumped out after the Rhino moved.
Give me
Mo had
whiplash.
to like walk into the middle of the board and do like area denial because I had no other units that could do it. So he was just standing there like looking at
It's almost like we
Lycus,
need
who
to
was like
spawn
slightly
enough-
out of Overwatch range, like giving her the big thumbs up, being like, please don't eat my ass in the next turn. Plot twist, she did. So yeah, Khorne goes into like the 2 remaining Banshees and kills 1, which I was like, baller, man. Fucking let's go.
Khorne by himself killed one
Yeah,
Banshee.
yeah. Like the noise that Connor made after I just rolled a sea of 1s on Khorne's hits and then transferred the few wounds into 1s as well. I was like, let's fucking go. So there I was with like 1 Banshee who had like magnetized a Berserker squad and Khorne and a Rhino, and I was just like, that's probably it. That's probably the game right there. And it was like, I won't get like too into the nuts and bolts. I tried to pull off some other like insanely stupid but long reach plays, much like you did against Folger in the Nova finals, where
So
it's
eventually, once the wheels fall off, you still got to get that car across the finish line, and it
just-
doesn't matter how hard
just
you got to
gotta go
push.
desperate. Yeah,
You
I
gotta
was-
push.
there was one moment where like I had like the other Mo and 10 in combat with 3 Shroud Runners, and the Hellbrute had made a charge from reserve because I forgot to rapid ingress him again.
Man,
And
at least you're consistent.
he made the charge though, and I was like, all right, look,
Never punished.
if I don't pile in with the Mo, I'm only getting like two Berserkers into combat, and if I just kill 1 Shroud Runner, it opens up this path for the Hellbrute to like 6-inch con into like, you know, Lycus or something like that.
Oblivion, yeah.
And we were just like, yeah, man, it's fucking like that could be actually insane. And we were like, can you elect to not pile in? We were asking all these like, you know, mind-boggling questions, and then Connor was like, wait, I can just pull the Shroud Runner that doesn't allow you to do that.
It's like, no.
We were just like, man, we're both dumb at this point. It's like there was weird shit happening on that flank. Eventually, I'm like, I gotta push the Land Raider out, and Fuegan comes out, and I'm like, all I can do is clench my butt cheeks and pop smoke, and like the Land Raider lived on 3 wounds, and I was like, oh my god, it did it. And then
Ow.
Connor was like, oh, I forgot I can actually just turn one of those wounds to a 6, and I was like, and then the Land Raider died.
Oh, never mind. I was like, that doesn't make sense.
And then, so like, I had like the 6 Exalted, and I had my Exalted, or sorry, the 6 8 band, my Exalted came in, and I was like, I'm just gonna bang a bunch of charges into Fuegan's dumbass Wave Serpent, and I only made it with the Exalted.
You kill the Wave Serpent?
I killed the Wave Serpent, and then I was like,
Okay, cool.
I want to walk off a bridge now. Like, this is so miserable.
That's how it felt. That's how it felt.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad. Like, honestly, I feel like I'm making it sound really bad. It was a really enjoyable game. It was lots of fun, and there was lots of tactics involved. But very quickly, Connor had me locked out of the game. Very, very tactical positioning, and just some weird shit happening with some banshees that I just couldn't quite resolve. And Khorne, oh yeah, this was the best thing. After like Khorne eventually kills the banshee and like got into Connor's deployment zone and like charged some Storm Guardians, he killed 2 Storm Guardians, and then they killed him on the clapback. And then he stood back up and he killed another 2 Storm Guardians, and they killed him a second time. And I was just like looking at him being like, you have never in the history of my entire time playing 40k failed me as much as you have failed me in this game. It was insane.
I think every emotion you had right there is what I felt for Endel Goddess.
It was like that, dude. I was like, oh, I get it now. Yeah.
So I rolled too good. That was the difference. I was too good.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
All right. Take us through game 4 and 5.
So game 4 was playing Luke on Deck Guard, Flyblown Host, another great friend. Really, really good player. So he was running double Blightlord bricks, some Plague Marines, 2 drones, Knight Despoiler with double battle cannon, a Defiler, and some other Poxwalker-y stuff. And the Blightlords all had Lords of Virulence in them. So pretty small footprint list, but very, very tough. And a lot of things that I was like, oh, this could be a struggle. So we're on layout 2 for day 2. And this one was kind of a funny game as well. A lot of passive stuff kind of happening in the first couple of turns, just basic trading and positioning and all that kind of stuff. But then in turn 2, actually, he had his 10 Blight Lords in the ruin just outside the middle objective. And the Defiler was there as well. And within 6 inches of the Defiler was one of the drones. And then within 6 inches of that drone was the other drone. And like the dollar signs came into my eyes, and I was like, "Oh, I can do it! All I have to do is kill 10 Blight Lords before I activate the Hellbrood," which was maybe not the best idea that I've ever had, because killing 10 Blight Lords is quite difficult to do. So yeah, I just ended up having a fucking massive push turn. I sent into this 10-man Terminator squad. I sent 3 8-bound. I think the Slaughter Band was part of that as well. I sent Khorne in 10. I sent the Hellbrood in. Up on the top flank, there was some spawn, like just like kissing the objective, doing some action stuff. And the other Hellbrute was in reserve. Oh yeah, and in like the first turn, my Land Raider just like shot downtown and like stripped the Defiler to like half health, which I was just like, wasn't even in rapid fire.
Yeah, I was going to say, putting the Hellbrute into the Defiler is kind of sketchy, but like...
Yeah, he was on like 7 wounds or something.
That makes more sense. I was like,
yeah.
You really got a lot of faith in Mr. Waddles if you think he can one-top a Defiler.
We did have a moment where we were like, oh my god, we actually finally found the Defiler's like ideal enemy, which is the Hellbrute. It's like the one thing that it's good at killing, you know? We're like, what does this thing kill? And we're like, oh, Hellbrutes. So Khorne in 10, this was the problem. So saw him making this move, and I was like, I'm going to set up to try and do this big push. I roll my blessings, and I only got crit hits. I got the legendary single blessing roll, so it was no dev wounds. So went
Favorite
in,
moment.
Yeah, ideal, really, really, really good. I was like, okay, it's not the end of the world. I'm still sending a ton of resources in. The Exalted 8-pound, we're also going into that mess. So Khorne in 10 kill like half the squad, I think. Activate the 8-pound, they kill another couple. Then I'm like, okay, cool, now I have to activate the Hellbrute, because if I kill more, he's going to be out of range and all this other kind of stuff. He didn't kill enough. He got stuck to one of the Blightlord Terminators, and then the Exalted basically finished them off. So the problem there was that like the Hellbrute hadn't gotten to do his big bounce, and a lot of my resources were now like standing in front of a Defiler and a Blowthrone and a Knight Despoiler with 2 battle cannons. And then
I'm
10
in
more
danger.
Terminators like appeared 9 inches away from them. I was like, oh no.
I'm in danger.
I was very much in danger. So yeah, what basically happened there was I lost the Zerks to various different types of shooting. The drone shot the Hellbrute and took it to like 3 wounds. And I was like, ooh, I could spend a CP and like reactive move this guy behind a wall, and then you can't shoot him with anything else, which I was really tempted to do. But I really needed my CP for disembarking Mo's squad 6 inches in the next turn, and then also hopefully hopping them back into the Rhino. So like, I actually can't afford to do the reactive move. But he took a substantial amount more shooting before he finally fell over and died. And then like a couple of 8 bound survived, and I think the Slaughterbound. No, sorry, the Slaughterbound did not survive. Karen survived, obviously, he stood back up. But I had Rapid Ingress, the other Hellbrute, John Hellbrute, more importantly. And I was like, cool, he's going to do his thing next turn because the blow drones are still 6 inches away from each other. So after that, I was like, all right, I don't really have many resources left. But what I can do is I can send in John Hellbrute and hopefully bang both the drones, rescue the spawn that had managed to live up there, even though one of the drones had shot the spawn. I had like one guy left. So he like ran back through
Spawn
the
moment.
wall and was like, I'm going to hold the objective and live for the rest of the game. John Hellbrute picked up both the drones. That was like the moment Luke realized what they could do, because I like fought the first drone, didn't kill it, and he was like, "Oh, it's okay," and I was like, "No, you have to punch me back," and I just watched his face drop.
Oh,
Karen walked into the Defiler and just killed it in one go. I was just like, "Let's go, Karen! You have made up for your crimes in the last game." And then I sent the surviving 2 8 bound just to touch the Knight Despoiler's legs and be like, cool, when you shoot my Berserkers in the next turn, you're going to be at -1 to hit. So they were like holding onto one toe each, being like, "Argh." So then Mo and the boys came out of their Rhino and went into a Blight Hauler and some Plague Marines, and my other 3 8 bound went into them as well. I was like, cool, all I need to do is not roll too high on Mo's charge and I'll be able to jump back into my Rhino, which was doing sabotage in the ruin. And I rolled too high in the charge, so they were going to be out in the open. But I was like, damn, am I glad I'm touching that knight's legs right now. So they got shot a bunch, but because the knight was hitting on 4s, it was okay. I only lost like 5 Berserkers, I think, or 6 maybe.
yep.
And then beautifully, they surged onto the middle objective and dumped like 10 OC on that objective, which took the Blight Lords, who are now sitting on the objective, off of it. I was like, this is beautiful. I now have primary because my spawn was holding the top, my 8 bound were holding the bottom, and my Zerks were now holding the middle, and it was the linchpin. So we went from both of us scoring 3 throughout the entire game to me suddenly scoring 15 in one go. I was like, bam, I'm back in this game. Now all I'm going to do is drive Rhinos into these stupid Blight Lords and make sure that only like 2 of them can punch my Master of Execution squad, which is exactly what I did. And basically I was like, all I need to do now is stall your Blight Lords for the rest of the game, while John Hellbrute runs around and lives his best life on the top objective. And that was basically how it went. I just bogged him down for long enough that he couldn't score primary, and he couldn't get out of where he was, while my Jackals just like ran up the board and did some basic actions in the end of the game. So managed to come away with that one. It was a little bit squeaky, but I think there was like a scary moment where I did that big push and it didn't quite work because I only had 1 blessing. But even after that, I was like, okay, I've still done a ton of damage. I think I'm still okay, and it was still okay, but it did require some careful play in the last couple of turns.
And
So yeah.
I think this telegraphs actually a lot of our strengths into Death Guard at the moment, is that we can really just use our mobility and our board position to take advantage of their lack of mobility and lack of
Yeah.
board position, right? They will destroy you when they decide to like put the hammer down on one portion of the table.
Mm.
They are an incredibly lethal army. You're going to lose most of your models in that area, but they're now in that area now, so you can run
Run away
away and
from that
figure the
area.
points go somewhere else.
Literally exactly what I did, man. As soon as I knew where the second Blight Lord bomb was, I was like, we're getting out of there. They're going to make it into the middle eventually, and hopefully I'll have worked out a solution by then. And the solution was kill everything else except for the knight, at which point I was like, I can't kill that anymore. And that was fine, you know? I was like, John Hellbrute saved the day on one flank, and the boy saved the day on the other one. And then I just had to hold the middle and deny primary, because linchpin feels very swingy. If you can stall them on 3s for long enough, and you get one big 10 or 15 swing, it's just over,
Yeah.
you know. So that was that.
Right. It's
Game 5.
exciting. I
Game
mean,
5 was fun.
it's always nice to put Death Guard down.
It was. I mean, like Luke has beaten me a bunch. I think he's beaten me most of the times we've played.
I just remember last time. I still need to get my loot game in, and that's like the first thing I'm
That's
doing
true,
when I come
actually.
back over.
Yeah, that's true.
I got a little wasted and talked way too much shit, guys. I have to back myself up a bit here.
Yeah.
But yeah, Luke's a good guy.
He is very good. Not too much like Goretrack tricks came up in that one because deck cards are so slow they can't like activate a lot of the Goretrack tricks. It was just me being like 6 inch disembark, go, you know. Yeah, so round five was against Jeremy again, one of the guys from the local club, good friend of mine, playing Custodes. I know most of you probably rolling your eyes right now, being like, "Oh, Custodes." He was playing Null Maiden's Vigil, and there
Oh,
was like 200 Sisters of Silence on the board.
okay.
Let me tell you, I was like,
Wait a
ha, ha,
minute.
ha.
Wait a
It's.
minute. It's Halbert's. It's the Halbert's turn.
I thought it was. I thought it was. But man, let me tell you, when there's like, it was like, I'm not going to tell you the breakdown of how many sisters there was, just that there was a ton of them and a ton of rhinos that they were all inside and a ton of battle shocks that were going to have. I've played Jeremy on Null Maidens a few times and weirdly quite scary. It's kind of like playing Night Lords where suddenly like half your army is battle shocked. And then like everything that's battle shocked, they get better at killing it. And there's a lot of flamers as well. And they have really good fights for a squad in the form of Alea and her 10 blade ladies who will just
Yeah.
cut up everything.
And they don't not hit hard. They hit very hard.
Oh no, they're all damage 2 and she's damage 3.
It's like
Um,
5-2-2 or something.
yeah,
It's like
like
a billion
they
fights
will
versus
they
attacks.
will blend 10 berserkers, no problem. And they'll blend 6 8 easy. And then there was 3 squads of Ventari as well, just to
That's
and
not
I
allowed. This is a sisters detachment.
I know,
That's
I know, but
illegal.
I had a feeling. I was like, I feel like once I commit into all these women, 9 Ventari are going to drop down in places that I can't control, and it's going to be a big problem. And that did happen, except I had a solution, and the solution was called John Helbrut. So this one was pretty cool. Jeremy went first. It was search and destroy again. I staged quite aggressively here because I was like, oh, you've got like 600 killer missiles and that's your anti-tank component. So Land Raider was like front and center being like, what are you going to do? So I drove that bad boy onto the middle objective real quick. And I sent Michael Helbrut up being like, oh, there's like a million sister units all within 6 inches of each other. Go do your thing. And he partially did his thing. He banged into like, I think 4 units maybe before he got stuck in a rhino. And then Khorne and 10, who I really didn't need to send in that early in the game, did go in and also like beat up some other people. But then some of the sword ladies came out and just like chopped up Khorne and the boys. But like one berserker and Khorne lived, so they kind of chopped up the sword ladies back. And then Michael Helbrut was also chopping up bits and pieces all around him because like everything had to sort of fight into him, so he's getting like 3 or 4 activations. And man, like I honestly don't remember how many squads he killed during these activations because they're all like 4. They're all like weird, like 4-woman sister squads. I'm like, what are these numbers? You know, like you're just sending these
This is
things
why you
in.
play Scourge. This is why you play the
I
Scourge.
was using the Scourge so much, but the 3-up saves were actually getting him through it. Like, so eventually I resorted back to the fist just to be like, I don't care anymore. So meanwhile, the 8-bounder in the Land Raider being like, I feel like we should get out, but it doesn't look good out there right now. There's some weird shit happening. And they were also like, the Land Raider is pretty chill. We're like,
We're
holding
killing
this thing.
so many models, but it's not
But there's
enough.
just so many more. And then on the other flank, there was like another Sisters Rhino on my like top objective, which some spawn were like hammering on the doors until 3 Exalted 8-bound dropped in, and then hammered on the doors and didn't kill it, which I was like, oh god damn. And then the Rhino ran away and they chased it down and threw it into the sun. And at that point, once I had committed, that was when the 9 Ventari dropped in my deployment zone. And I was like, oh god damn. The only thing I can do here is bring in John Helbrut from reserve in my own deployment zone. And he came in and he just went bump, bump, bump. And I was like, oh, cool. It's good that he sorted that problem out. Not in one go. Not in one go. But he bounced between like a couple of Ventari and a sister squad who had also walked in, and then eventually made his way to the last Ventari. But yeah, he did. He's good at killing Custodes. Let me tell you that. He's very, very good at killing Custodes. And at one point, like the Land Raider got blown up by, I think, sisters. I can't remember exactly. I think they walked into it and just like blew it up with swords. But the 8-bound were like scrapping it out at that point. Look, there's not too many highlights of this game other than like women were constantly running at my Exalted and my 8-bound and my Berserkers, and they were cutting them down slowly but surely. And eventually I worked my way onto his home field objective with like very little assets left, and I was very tired. But I made it there. Mike Hellbrood had died at some
This
point.
is what it felt when I played Randy's Crude on stream, by the way.
It was the same kind of vibe. I was like, it feels like I'm playing Chaos Cult, like right now. Like I don't know why there's so many bodies and why they're all 3-up armor and why they're all weirdly lethal and why like half my army is battle shocked. It was a crazy game, but it just kind of it was very grindy. And once I pushed through the grind, it was okay. There was a lot of like jump back into the transport so I can get Lance and wound these people on
Yeah, I
twos.
guess not being +2 strength +1 attack doesn't matter when the whole army's T3.
It does. It just doesn't matter. Yeah, just doesn't matter. Yeah, it was a fun
So,
game though. Really nice one to close it out. It was like really low scoring. I think I won like 70 to like 50 or something like that. I can't remember exactly,
okay.
but yeah, weird game. Weird game.
Those happen.
They do happen. Yeah.
So you've gone 4-1 now with
Hmm.
Goretrack at Dearg Doom, which maybe I'll be at 5 or 6. I don't know. It's too quiet over there. I need to come back. Gotta
Maybe we'll
reinvade. I
play at
gotta.
number 5.
We can test the Khorne Demon into Oilbound.
We can do a challenge round. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So final thoughts on Goretrack though. What do you think that was like big takeaways? I guess here
Yeah.
on
Cool.
the detachment.
I feel like I kind of like meme summarize my games, but actually the detachment is like insanely powerful. Way more powerful than I thought it was going to be, for the reasons I kind of alluded to, which is basically like set up correctly, put your opponent in a box, and say try and get out of the box before the Zerkers randomly do something you weren't expecting them to. The one stratagem that I never used was the get a Rhino shot and Blood Surge out of it, because my opponents, every time I told them about it, respected it so much that they just played around it.
I think we called that day one when the Codex dropped. We were like, this strat is so good, you're never going to use it because
But you're still using it because
yes,
you're forcing your
it
opponent to
exists. Yep.
always be 11 inches away from you. You're forcing your opponent to cut these really awkward angles, and most importantly, as is the same with the Hellbrood, you're forcing them to overcommit resources into these units that, like, in
Right, they can't
any
just
other game, they would not be putting, like,
in Warband, you can split fire 3 fire dragons into a Rhino and be like, oh, I'm probably going to kill him, but if I don't, what's the worst that could happen?
yeah,
Well, in Goretrack, the worst that could happen is Fuegan just dies. That is
yeah.
the worst that could happen.
And a lot of the time, I was telling my opponents, I was like, look, if you move something up there, which can reliably one-tap the Rhino, I'm just going to reactive disembark. And then they'd be like, oh, well, now I'm not going to do that thing. I'm like, yeah, and like if you fail to kill the Rhino, they'll jump out and kill you anyway. And like you present them with so many problems that like it's really hard to solve them all efficiently and correctly. And you get this really good board control state. And to be honest, the lethality was still there with Lance. It was definitely still there. The speed was better than Berserker Warband. The amount of like pluses to the charge, 6-inch
I'd say like,
disembark.
yeah, the broad speed is probably better. Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
actually agree with that.
yeah. And it was one of those things where it was just like, yeah, it feels like I can always reach where I want to reach. The Hellbrutes felt amazing. They were really, really powerful. Just being able to rapid ingress them behind a ruin and just be like, I don't need to worry about like waddling around this ruin was insane. Like that was actually
I mean,
just insane.
that's really like the data sheet for the Hellbrood is nuts. Its
Yeah,
profile is pretty good. The biggest thing that has been holding us back from it is, as Dara said, waddles around a ruin. That is what gets him usually. Is
yep,
he just has really awkward charge distances after you get him into the places he needs to be.
yep. So really good.
So
Yeah, I love the detachment. To be honest, it's really tricksy. It feels kind of like you're playing Eldar. You sort of have that projection of like you want to play your game, but if you play your game, you might activate the stuff that plays my game. So it's kind of like that sort of jank. The most insane thing as well, which like I feel like I didn't talk about enough, was that thing of like kill a squad, jump back into the Rhino behind a ruin. It was insane. I did that so many times. Like it feels like you're playing a shooting army because you're like I just deleted a unit with no risk because now I'm back inside my bus and it's fine. It's like I never left. Incredible. Absolute cinema is what I would say.
chef's kiss. Brian taking Goretrack to Worlds incoming.
It's not okay,
Uh,
guys. Let's be real. It's not better than Warband, but it's way better than we were giving it credit for. Like way, way better.
You know what? That's actually good to hear because that is like we said at the beginning. It feels like it's kind of the stepchild attachment of the codex, where it's not straight up a disappointment, but it's definitely been a detachment that's been overlooked,
Yeah.
and it actually has legs. And Land Raider has a home there. Hellbrutes have a home there. If you're looking for an alternative way to play, just not a stock warband list right now, um, maybe give Goretrack a try.
It
You know,
feels very different. Like that was the thing that I really enjoyed about it. The toolbox is so completely different that it doesn't feel like you're playing like a warband reskin or like a slightly worse warband. You know, like Vessels, where you're kind of like, oh, this list would literally just be better in warband. This was like, no, I've got a completely different toolbox. It's unique.
yeah. So, with that, if you want to hear more from Dara about his thoughts on Goretrack, feel free to hit up our Patreon. That's our last plug, I promise. Well, the other part two of this plug is now we have some questions that our patrons submitted that they wanted to ask you, Dara. It's kind of this like I'm done asking questions. It's time for them to ask questions. So, like I said, if you want to be part of that conversation in the back scenes, please, it's just a coffee a month. It helps us get around to these events so we can get content like this out there, right? Without this kind of support, we wouldn't have events to go to be able to test stuff like Wartrack at GT level events.
Exactly.
So, how would you tweak your list for teams? Is the first question. Because teams. That is the word of the month. Because Challengers Cup is right around the corner. Everybody likes their teams right now. How would you tweak your list?
If I was to tweak it for teams, I think I would be like trying to create a maximum disruption list, and I would be looking for some possible way to get a third Hellbrood in there. Because the more of those that you put in a gore track list, the more disruption you cause. That would be one avenue I would do. And probably to do that, I would realistically look at turning the two 8-bound units into another squad of Berserkers and putting them into the Land Raider. I wouldn't drop the Land Raider, but the 8-bound sometimes felt a little bit redundant. Where it's kind of like, if you were 10 Berserkers, you'd be jumping out and killing the same things, you know? It wasn't like
Sure.
incredible. And then I think you can really like look at someone and say, all right, how do you want to play into this? Like if you pick like Deck Guard for example, it's a nightmare matchup for them because they're so slow. They actually don't have a choice but like sometimes to activate the gore track stuff, and they're also so slow that they can't get outside of 6 inches of each other. So you can just like do the curse ping pong and send the Hellbrute through them. Um, so I think it's got a pretty positive matchup into that. I guess it depends what your role is going to be in teams as well, of course, right?
Sure.
But I think like maximize your disruption because that's what the detachment is doing. It's disruptive to your opponent's plan.
Awesome. And then here's a fun one. If you had to rename the detachments, just names, what would you name them? If you had to name this, let's do just Goretrack. If you had to rename Goretrack, what would you call it?
Drive to Unalive. Name my
Drive
list.
through unalive.
Drive to Unalive. You know, like Drive to
Drive
Survive.
to
The F.
unalive.
Yeah, you know, like the F1
Oh,
documentary. This is Drive
yeah.
to Unalive. Yeah,
And of course, also
something like
there's
that.
also the Elisan Oil Gaib detachment. I guess would be the other one you'd name.
I just Oil Hub Live.
Oil
That's
Live.
that's
Ooh,
what I've been calling on my lists.
spicy. And what is your favorite play that you've made with the detachment?
um, it's an interesting one. I think there's like lots of micro plays that are really interesting. I did like the realization of like I can disembark 6, then drive the Rhino forward and get out the random character at the end and still charge it with both. That was like a moment where I was like, this feels like it's. And I was literally like on my app because it was like game 3, right? I was so
Yeah.
tired. I was like, this can't be real. Like, I can't be allowed to do this. I was looking at it with my opponent, just being like, I can do this. This is sick.
That was
Like,
great. Yeah.
it's like I've advanced and charged 2 units. Like,
Tactical Mo.
incredible. That was really cool. I anytime I did the jump back into a transport after killing something, I was just like, huge brain. But a lot of it is like it's subtle things. It's like setting up your positioning really well, and then looking at your opponent and saying, "Over to you. How do you want to deal with this massive problem?" And it's not like a single play. It's just like if you set it up correctly, they're caught in a box. The only way out of the box is Fuegan, which like fair enough. Aside from that, it's just like it creates these really complex problems. So I don't think there's like a single play that really jumps out, but just loads of little micro stuff where you're like, oh, it's really cool that I can do this thing that I can't do in any other detachment.
This one's gonna go straight for your heart, and you're gonna have to make a decision. Do you think Goretrack is more competitive than Oil Pack? Which is possessed slaughter band guys for those of us who haven't
Uh,
actually said the words.
I think I'm more likely to win an event with Goretrack.
Okay.
I,
And
I
then
think like slightly more. Yeah, slightly more.
and then the final question to round us out, which we've probably also answered here, is what unit really stood out to you that doesn't normally
I
in
say
other
Hellbrood, man.
detachments?
Yeah, like the Hellbrood is
There we
like
go.
so mid in every other detachment, and in this it is literally an S tier unit just because it complements the detachment so well.
It's awesome,
Not
man.
even close.
Well, we've been going for a minute.
Yeah,
Thanks for sticking around, guys. Hopefully this one was a fun one. Like I said, it's not often we get exposure to alternative detachments from Warband or even Demonkin. So that was awesome to see. Good job proving that you're not completely washed, Dara. I'll give you that
not
credit.
completely. 4-1 though. It's like it's nothing to talk about, but you know.
No, it's still a big deal. I mean, it's still a big deal, especially with Goretrack, right? A lot of people would
Yeah, I
say that
mean, it
it would be a
was.
struggle to go in 4-1 with that detachment, but you're saying it's
I,
not, which
I
is good to hear.
literally a month ago I would have said the same thing. Like, and I will say to everyone who is watching this and being like, "Well, he's wrong because Goretrack is bad." Man, I would have said that like literally a week ago. Just get out there and try it. It's probably going to surprise you. It
You know what?
surprised the shit out of me.
I'm one of those people. I've never put it on the table. So,
Yeah, yeah. What started as a meme became a dream, and what a dream! John Hellbrood,
Sean Halpern.
2025.
I'm gonna have to borrow him. I'm gonna have to borrow him because I might be
Yeah.
slipping one into Warband in a
I
little
think he's
bit.
probably going to become like an emoji in the Dearg Doom Discord just because he caused so much people trauma over the weekend. You know, it's just yeah. Yeah. Overall, though, just love the detachment. Like it was really refreshing and surprising about how much I enjoyed playing it. It's real like maniacal, evil, cackling laughter when your opponent tries to do something and you're like, well, if you do that, I can do this thing. And they're just, I'm
It,
like, I
I,
man, I was literally like, is this what it's like to play Eldar? Like,
it's like it actually feels like running out onto the table and then just dumping a bunch of rakes all over the table and being like, whatever you do, don't step on it, and then you just
yeah,
walk away. And you say, and people like you probably got this question too while you're playing the lists, which is like, oh, I swear we're getting there, guys. It's they look at you and say, "What do I do?" And you're like, "I don't know. Just figure
mm,
it out." Like it's easier to present the problem than it is to solve the problem, right?
yeah.
It's one of those where you're just like, "I don't know. Figure it out," and you walk away from the table. Let me know when you've figured out the correct sequence to attack this rhino, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of that, and then it's kind of like you watch them do this incredibly intricate movement phase where they think they've solved all the puzzles, and then at the end of it, you're just like, one CP wrapping in grass. Here's John. Like he just walks on in the place
Wait,
that
hold
they
on.
just didn't have an option for.
No, we don't rapid aggress, John. We just never get punished.
That's also
Okay.
true. That's
All
true.
right,
I
guys.
like that.
Thanks for sticking around. Feel free to check us out on Discord, like, comment, any other ideas you want. Like I said, Dara's probably gonna maybe, hopefully, if we get enough attention brought to it, and if enough people want it, he'll probably do a workshop on it too. That could be coming.
Yeah, I feel
But
like this was like maybe not as like complex or like in depth as our normal Skull Takers, where you break down like competitive plays. But I think it's fun to have maybe a bit more comedic one. But let us know if you thought it was a bit silly and stupid and you don't care about it, and we'll focus more on the competitive stuff. But yeah, also as I said, as Brian said, even if you want the kind of seminar for the Patreons, let us know. We'll try to get that going as well. Probably ping you guys later tonight. And yeah, join the Discord, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Um, Drink your 8 pound body oil,
yep.
put petrol in your rhinos, drive forward, reactive move, vibe out, John Hellbrute. Stay healthy, stay
Peace.
safe, kill Bane Bird.